Last Time I Saw You is a Night in the Woods-like narrative game by Maboroshi Studios that just dropped on PC and consoles last week. It's really good, and I think it'll be a major hit with my usual audience. So before you go ahead and check out this wonderfully realized fantasy version of 1980s Japan, what did I like about Last Time I Saw You? What did it do well, and what would I like to see the developers improve on in future games? Let's dive in. Last Time I Saw You is set in a small Japanese town that's threatened by frequent typhoons during its rainy season. The protagonist is Ayumi, a teenage boy who has a special connection with the magical forest near his home. When he was a small child, he wandered into that forest alone and befriended Amibitsu, the daughter of the goddess of rain. And now, years later, she's reaching out to him again to solve a problem that could threaten the lives of everyone he knows. Overall, the story is fairly strong. As you can probably tell, there are a lot of fantasy elements to it. Forest spirits, gods and goddesses, and monsters like the Kappa. It's all rooted in Japanese mythology, and as someone who doesn't know much about that particular culture, I really enjoyed learning more about it through this game. In that way, it kind of reminded me of Sekiro or Persona. Much different games, obviously, but they all function as learning experiences for me. Speaking of learning, something about Japanese culture that came up in Last Time I Saw You pretty frequently, aside from the mythology, was the impact of the Second World War on the populace. I live in the United States, and though we have plenty of post-war literature and spend a lot of time talking about the conflict, most of it centers around the European theater. We don't cover the Pacific theater as much. Unless you're a history buff, the standard education on that side of things jumps from Pearl Harbor to Hiroshima and Nagasaki very quickly. So, seeing Japanese characters speak openly about the impact of the war, about people who refused to give up on it, and the civilian response to air raids really stood out to me, and it made me want to find out more about how the Japanese culture responded to the aftermath of the war. So, from that alone, I'm sure you can tell that this is a game that mixes mythology with real-life elements, and I have to say that Last Time does a great job of blending it all together. Ayumi goes from dealing with teenage drama, like crushes, trouble with friends, and family difficulties, to joining Amibitsu in the forest to try and stop the frequent typhoons. It's a little bit of Alice in Wonderland, a little bit of Chronicles of Narnia, and a coming-of-age superhero story combined into one, and I really enjoyed the places the developers went with it. In terms of the gameplay, it's a Night in the Woods-like. There's dialogue options to choose from, side quests to complete, and a whole host of colorful characters to meet. Both real folks like Nao and Manabu, and fantastical creatures like Buro and Neo Kotaro. There aren't really any true minigames, which was a bit disappointing, but in place with such segments, Last Time has a simple yet effective combat system. I wish they had done some more with it and added some enemy variety or even new abilities or attacks as the game went on, but it serves its purpose, and it was really cool to see a Night in the Woods-like game that included combat. In terms of the game's biggest selling points, I loved the soundtrack. It's incredibly good, with a theme for the town that's super catchy, and an awesome song for the finale that really adds to the pageantry of the moment. The song playing in the background right now is the coffee shop theme, which is easily my favorite thanks to its smooth jazz vibes. The art style is awesome as well, and should be a major hit with anyone who enjoys anime or manga. Now, let's move on to criticisms. Pacing is a bit of a problem. Honestly, it's a bit of an issue with the genre in general, as even Night in the Woods itself struggled in this regard. But in the case of Last Time, its climax happens rather suddenly. It's an awesome and dramatic conclusion, and the build isn't bad, but it goes from 0 to 60 really fast. In that respect, it reminded me a bit of Fall of Porcupine, which had trouble in the same area. With Night in the Woods, this was somewhat easier to ignore because of the ambiguous nature of the Black Goat and the relatively low stakes of the climax. But with Last Time, everything is clearly very real, and the stakes are very high. This, in turn, ties back to a broader issue with the length of the game. At about 6.5 hours, it's rather short. You guys know me, I love a good short king, and Night in the Woods-like games typically clock in at around 8 to 10 hours. Last Time is a good game, but I think it could have been a great game if it had hit that length, or potentially even gone beyond it. If you're an avid consumer of fantasy, be it books, movies, or video games, then you know that the genre tends to be longer than its contemporaries due to the amount of world building and setup it requires. Last Time has a stronger footing in fantasy than other Night in the Woods-like games, and I wish that the game had spent more time allowing us to immerse ourselves in the mystical forest and its inhabitants. The same can be said of the townsfolk, honestly. Both locations have some seriously awesome stuff going on, from divine foxes to the Dogberry-ish police chief, and I wish there'd been more of it. But what's there is indeed good. I highly recommend Last Time I Saw You, and Maboroshi Artworks should be very proud of themselves for what they achieved here. Folks on the development team, if you're watching this, then congratulations on an excellent game. I look forward to seeing what you guys cook up next. Stay tuned for more coverage of Last Time I Saw You. I'll be dropping a second video about the game at some point in the next few weeks. Thanks for watching. Big shout out to all my Silver and Gold tier YouTube channel members and Patreon subscribers, including James Pruitt, Corey Matson, Gustavo Balabi, Lil Caesar, Reed, Pathonian, Faith G, and Anna Novakova, who get early access to these videos thanks to donations of $5 to $10 a month. See you guys next time!